The son of late Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi made a rare appearance in public on Sunday to run for president.
After years of living in the shadow, after years of silence, after years of quietness, a name has resurfaced in Libya and the West is afraid. The West is terrified. NATO, France, US, they are all shaking. What is happening? What is happening? Why? How come? What happened? Do you know the name that has resurfaced? Do you know? I want you to take a guess. Guess the name that has resurfaced. It is no other than the son of Gaddafi. His name is... Guess. I am so excited. I am so elated that finally someone has decided to start from where Gaddafi stopped. And this person is no other than Gaddafi's biological son, Saif Ismail Gaddafi. So the West, Saif resurfacing is a nightmare. They are all scared. What is he going to do? Is he going to start from where his father stopped? Can we stop him like we stopped the father? You people will not be able to stop him. You people will not be able to stop Islam Gaddafi. He is back. He is going to start from where his father stopped to unify Libya. Anyway, let me just give you the full gist, because this gist, it is too hot. Sit back, relax as I tell you exactly the rumor that is going on that is making the West terrified. They said his father was dangerous, not because he oppressed, but because he promised sovereignty in a world caved up by empires. They ignored his warnings that foreign intervention would fracture Libya beyond repair, and fracture it did. Now in 2025, reports still unconfirmed spreads like wildfire. Saif al-Islam Gaddafi has reappeared, positioning himself to lead Libya. In this big year 2025, there are rumors that Saif al-Islam Gaddafi has reappeared and is positioning himself as the one to come and save Libya. And trust me, the West are not happy at all about this resurfacing. They are very, very angry. Why? What is he coming to look for? But the guy has said, I am coming back to take from you people what you have stolen from my nation. Is it possible that Saif's return could be Libya's chance at rebirth? Or is it another illusion in the long desert mirage of post-Gaddafi politics? This is the question echoing tonight and everywhere. So what's really happening? Is it possible that this could be the rebirth of Libya? Or is it another illusion in the long desert mirage of post-Gaddafi politics? This is the question that is echoing everywhere. So what's really happened? In this video, I'm going to give you the full gist about what played out. No one can fully tell Libya's story without mentioning Gaddafi. I mean, from politics to their psychological life and their economic well-being, Gaddafi was rooted. Gaddafi was on ground. Gaddafi made sure that Libyans had a life that was easy, but the West were not happy about it. And that's how they eliminated him in 2011. When Gaddafi was overthrown and killed in 2011, Western capitals erupted in self-congratulations. That time, if you remember, Barack Obama was the president of the US. Oh, they were so joyful. In Barack Obama's words, it was now Libya's opportunity to true democracy. But we know what that means. It means that they were going to try to enter for their own economic benefits, and which they did. The West made us believe that a dictator has fallen. They were so happy that he was killed as if he was a terrorist. But we all know that Muammar Gaddafi wasn't a dictator. He was someone that wanted the best for his country and indeed the whole Africa at large. The promise of democracy by the West evaporated as quickly as the smoke from NATO airstrikes. Institutions that once functional, imperfectly yes, but predictable, collapsed under the weight of imported chaos. Ministries were dissolved, the army splintered, rival militias rose and turned cities into war zone. The oil wealth that was once funded Libya's welfare state was hijacked by private actors and militias, diverted into personal accounts and foreign banks. To the west, Libya was a success story, but to Libyans, it was the dismembering of a nation. Daily life changed in ways far more painful than any political analyst can capture. Electrical blackouts became normal, hospitals ran out of medicine, universities stopped functioning regularly. For ordinary citizens, the collapse of the order meant the collapse of dignity. Women who once walked freely began to live under fear and threat from armed groups. Farmers abandoned their farms, teachers stopped receiving salaries. Libya, once the richest country in Africa per capita income, became a playground for smugglers, mercenaries, and foreign intelligence agencies. And that's why over a decade later, many Libyans now look back at the Gaddafi era, not with blind loyalty, but with the aching nostalgia. They remember free healthcare that they used to have, free university education, subsidized housing, cheap fuel, and a welfare system that, despite its flaws, offered stability. They remember a time when Libyans didn't need to flee their own country to find safety or food. This nostalgia has political power because it speaks to something deeper than policies. It speaks to memories, to identity, and to the longing for order in the middle of despair. In the ruins of post-2011 Libya, many citizens now weigh freedom against survival, and survival wins. And into that void of desperation steps a familiar name, Saif al-Islam Gaddafi. His story mirrors Libya's own, one of rise, collapse, exile, and attempted rebirth. During the 2011 revolution, he stood beside his father, defending the regime against rebels and foreign intervention. To his supporters, he was the intellectual heir, the polished, Western-educated reformer who had once promised gradual modernization. To his critics, he was an extension of his father's autocracy. A young man molded in the image of power, loyal to his privileges and blind to his crimes. When NATO bombs fell and Gaddafi's empire crumbled, Saif al-Islam's life took a dramatic turn. Captured by the Zinta militia, he became a prisoner of a nation torn apart. In absentia, he was sentenced to death for alleged crimes committed during the 2011 crackdown. Accusations the International Criminal Court continues to pursue even to this day. Yet, history has a habit of turning villains into redeemers when the alternative is chaos. In 2017, Saif al-Islam was pardoned by Libya's eastern-based authorities. His release marked the quiet beginning of a new political order and chapter. For years, he lived in obscurity, surfacing only in whispers, a photo here and a rumor there. Then, in 2021, he broke his silence. In an interview with the New York Times, Saif spoke like a man that has been reborn. He said in that interview that Libya was in desperate need of saving from political corruption and also foreign interference. He also added in that interview that it was only a man like himself that had deep knowledge of the history of Libya that can rebuild Libya, repair what has been destroyed, and also unify the nation. Now, unconfirmed reports suggest that Saif is no longer content with symbolism. Sources across social media and local channels claim he is meeting tribal elders, forming alliances, and positioning himself as a national figure once again. Whether through elections or raw political maneuvering, he appears ready to challenge Libya's fractured leadership. To some, his re-emergence feels inevitable, the return of the son to complete what his father began. To others, it feels like deja vu, a dangerous filtration with authoritarian nostalgia disguised as national salvation. You may want to ask why the return of Saif even matter. Let me tell you the reason why it matters. For 14 years, Libya has been drained. Economically, they have been drained. Nothing is left for the citizens. Schools are not functioning as they should. Hospitals are not functioning as well. Children barely have food to eat. Women are not safe. Men are dying. So the coming back, or rumored to be coming back, of Gaddafi's son would then help them to rebuild, to pick up from where Gaddafi stopped, and to try to regain what is rightfully theirs. Foreign powers like Turkey, Russia, Egypt, and the UAE all have soldiers or proxies on Libya soil. The country's oil wealth, which could have rebuilt the nation several times over, now fuels corruption and war in the country. In this context, nostalgia for Gaddafi's era isn't political, it is psychological. It represents a yearning for the simplest things of life, like functioning electricity, safety, schools, and job. Saif has become a vessel for that yearning. His message, order before freedom, bread before ballot, resonates deeply with the people of Libya because they are tired of failed experiments in democracy that only brought warlords to power. However, the International Criminal Court looms over Saif al-Islam like a dark cloud. The ICC accuses him of war crimes and crimes against humanity for his alleged role in suppressing protests in 2011. Legally, his candidacy for any leadership position should be impossible, but Libya's current situation is anything but legalistic. There is no unified judiciary, no single government recognized by all factions, and no mechanism strong enough to enforce an international warrant. But before I continue further, let me know if you are enjoying this video. If yes, please like and share this video, and make sure to subscribe to African News and Gist for more. Let's continue now. For many Libyans, the ICC indictment no longer matters. They view it as an external instrument of political control. After all, where was the ICC when NATO bombed civilian convoys or when militias executed prisoners? Where was justice when foreign mercenaries occupied Libyan territory? In their eyes, the ICC doesn't represent fairness. It represents foreign interference dressed as legality. The perception terrifies Western power. A Gaddafi restoration, even partial, will symbolize a massive geopolitical defeat. It will mean that despite years of war, sanctions, propaganda, and intervention, the very bloodline they tried to erase has returned to power. The narrative of the Arab Spring would collapse, replaced by a chilling truth that Western intervention destroyed more than it liberated. For France, US, and NATO, the rise of Saif threatens their economic interest in Libya because Libya is the powerhouse of oil reserve in Africa. So if Saif comes into power successfully, it means that France, the US, and NATO will lose what they used to benefit in Libya, and I don't think they will want him to do that to them. With Libya being the home of largest proven oil reserves, US, NATO, and France economic interest will be so threatened if Saif comes to power. They are going to be so threatened. Right now, they are already afraid, they are already shaking, because that's where they benefit from. They benefit a lot from the crisis that is happening in Libya. They benefit from the instability. They benefit from the war. They benefit so much from the people of Libya and from the nation itself because there is instability. So if Saif come on board and bring stability and unify the country and try to repair what was damaged, it means NATO, France, and US will lose what they used to benefit. A leader who revives Gaddafi's defiant stance towards the IMF, NATO, and Western oil firms would disrupt the balance. That is why, even before any confirmation of Saif's political return, Western think tanks have begun framing him as a risk to stability, the same phrase once used to justify his father's assassination. But Saif's story is more complicated than pure resistance. Videos and documents have resurfaced showing his interaction with Western officials before 2011. He met with the diplomats, including then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. At that time, Libya was being courted by Washington as a rehabilitated ally after years of sanction. These meetings, ordinary in diplomacy, have now taken on a conspiratorial air. To some observers, they suggest that Saif once sought validation from the very powers his father defied. This fueled two opposing interpretations. One camp believes Saif has learned from his father's mistakes, that he understands the futility of absolute isolation and may seek a pragmatic balance between sovereignty and global cooperation. The other camp insists that such pragmatism is merely a mild compromise, suggesting that he might quietly become another Western-aligned leader, cloaked in nationalist rhetoric. These questions matter because Libya's sovereignty doesn't exist in isolation. The nation sits at the crossroad of Africa, the Mediterranean, and the Arab nation. Whoever leads Libya affects migration routes, energy prices, and geopolitical influence from Cairo to Rome. If Saif al-Islam returns to power as a Western ally, it could stabilize Libya while legitimizing the very powers that destroyed it. If he returns as an anti-Western reformer, it could ignite a new phase of confrontation, not only for Libya, but for all Africans' independence movements. Either way, the decision will not remain confined within Libya's borders. It will ripple across the continent, especially as Africa redefines its place in a world tilting towards multipolarity. Still, even if Saif al-Islam's intentions are genuine, the battlefield he faces is treacherous. Libya today is not a unified state, but a patchwork of militias, tribe, and foreign interests. These groups profit from chaos, smuggling oil, weapons, and migrants, and have no interest in national unity that would end their lucrative operations. Therefore, rebuilding Libya means confronting these armed fiefdoms, a challenge that has defeated many post-Gaddafi leaders. Saif's name may command respect among older generations, especially in the south and among certain tribes, but it also evokes fear and resentment among others who suffered under his father's regime. His return could unite or divide, perhaps both at the same time. In my opinion, I think the only way that Saif is going to succeed is to first convince Libyans themselves to unite, shield their weapon, come together to build the nation, because the current state of Libya is very bad. Infrastructures are in ruins, schools are underfunded, roads are not motorable, hospitals not working, and if he has to rebuild Libya, it means that he has to take control of oil, and that oil is what France, US, and NATO has interest on. So for him to come back and want to build Libya, he has to first talk to Libyans, convince them to come together to fight for their nations first. He has to convince them that it's for the betterment of the nation and for themselves, their children and generations to come, that they come together and hold on to what they have and build back what has been build up what has been destroyed by the West. If not, in my opinion, I think the West can convince the individuals that are benefiting also from the smuggling of weapons and oil to fight against Saif in the rebuilding of Libya. As of today, Saif's political intention is yet to be confirmed, but rumors are spreading like wildfire in Libya, in Africa, and the world at large. For some, Saif's return is a hope for them for a better Libya, but for others, they see his return as the resurrection of an authoritarian ghost. But what do you think? Do you think US, France, and NATO will allow Saif start from where his father stopped? Do you think they will allow him to have control of the oil that benefits them? Or do you think, just like they did to his father, they would also assassinate him? I want to know what you think in the comments. And if you love this video and you enjoyed it, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment. Also, don't forget to return for more interesting African news just like this. See you and have a good one. Bye.